My biggest fear has probably been that when I talk, I don't make sense. The things I say are just, and those are probably my best videos, the ones in which I just talk about stuff. I was thinking about something, which I'm just going to think out loud. Something that's been on my mind forever, since forever. And it's just this whole concept of the self. It's been an issue like with David Hume and others. What is the self? And this whole thing about bundle theory, that the self that you are doesn't exist because you can't take it in through your senses. Well, this was the problem with Hume. See, the thing is that in order, the only things we can claim we know are the things that we have a sense impression of. Things we take in through our senses. But the self that is you is not something you take in through your senses. Yet you know that there is you, the self that's you. But how do you know that? See, I think it's one of those things that's a difficult problem. I won't quite put it in the category what people call the hard problem, because I'm not too sure I even accept that concept. But it is a difficult problem. It's something that maybe it's not even a problem in a funny way. Maybe it's not even a problem. There is this thing we call the self. The self. Myself. Who am I? The self that is me. And we don't question it. There are certain words that I get to thinking about that might be a problem. Like one word that people use a lot is conclusion. You come to the conclusion that. Well, what is a conclusion? A conclusion is something at the end of something. A lot of times our conclusions aren't conclusions. They aren't something at the end. It's something we may start off with from the very beginning. From the very moment we could form a concept of such a thing, we accepted something. It's like, have I ever come to the conclusion that there's such a thing as God? If people ask me, they could say, Philip, do you believe in God? And I say, yeah. But then you say, well, how did you come to the conclusion that there was a God? And if I actually thought about it in very realistic ways of using language, it would be that there really isn't a conclusion. It's not a conclusion. And I would imagine that if I were an atheist, if I didn't believe in God, that also wouldn't be a conclusion. Because it's not an end of anything. But we use those words. We use words like conclusion. Something is a conclusion. I came to the conclusion that. Like as if we were detectives and we were looking for clues for something. We're trying to bring this case to a close. So we look for the clues and we look for evidence and we look for things and we test things. And then after a while we come to a conclusion. But that's not how we think in everyday life. There are many things we accept without really reaching a conclusion. We just accept it because it's practical, it works, and that's it. And we just keep on moving. And we don't really bother too much to question it. Because as long as it's not creating problems for us, at least problems that we know of, that we're aware of, we just keep going with it. We just run with it. We run with the ideal. Well, that's something that, I come to the conclusion that there is a me, a self. I come to the conclusion that there was a reality before I was born, and it wasn't just something somebody made up. That all of life didn't just come into existence 5 minutes ago with my memory of everything being part of that package deal. You don't really think about it. You don't investigate it. You don't spend your whole lifetime trying to find out. Because, every moment you could say, well, what if all that was just part of that 5 seconds ago thing? Those, they are mysteries. There are things which are really mysteries. But we get used to them. It's like the quote I keep throwing out there about what John Locke said about that our everyday handling of things takes away our wonder, but it doesn't cure us of our ignorance. We don't wonder about things. You know, if you're a person who believes in God, you grew up in a community where people believe in God, etc. You don't have a sense of, you don't really, not so much a sense of wonder, but you don't wonder about it. You don't wonder, is it true? You just accept it. There are many things in this world you just accept. You know, you don't wonder about whether or not you actually exist. You don't really do it. I mean, we may talk about things like, you know, brains in a vat and the Matrix and all that sort of thing. But, you know, in reality, we don't really think that we're some computer program somewhere in the universe. You know, we could think about it and from, you know, purely logical point of view, that is a possibility. But we don't really think it. You know, we don't really think that. Maybe if we accepted that as being true, we might wonder, you know, is my own existence a possibility? My real existence as a person? No, you think I am a person, and maybe I really am not a person. Maybe I am part of somebody's computer program. You don't question it. There are things that you start off, you just latch onto and you don't question. But then from that foundation, you question everything else. You know, I exist, but what if I didn't exist? Instead of, I don't really exist, but what if I did exist? You don't think the other way. There's one way you think and another way you don't think. Oh my goodness. Here's somebody who definitely does not doubt her own existence. Here's a person who definitely does not doubt her own existence. Or the fact that she can bother me so she can get some snacks. That's what she wants. She wants something. And she wants to be hugged and cuddled. And she's very spoiled. And there's no doubt about that either. But are you real? Maybe you're part of a computer program, Cynthia, that you're a program that somebody else designed. Yes. Let me see. A little spoiled baby. So. She got to be in the spotlight. Missy, you got to get out from here. Okay? Get down. There you go. So that is the thing to think about. Just a few things. The words, you know, that's the thing. Language is a funny thing because the way we use words, I don't think words really get at reality. I think they kind of obscure reality. You know, I know that there are a lot of people who are into like linguistic philosophy and all that stuff and a whole bunch of other type of things where they look at that sort of stuff. But, you know, sometimes I'm kind of lazy. I don't really want to go looking through all that stuff. You know, one thing is I just reach certain ideals and I work with them until they don't work anymore. See, I kind of think that there's some truth to William James' thing about the will to believe thing. You know, believe that which works for you. And every so often you sort of break up your beliefs. Break up those beliefs and examine them. But then, you know, you come back to some other beliefs and things. You know, getting to absolute truth and absolute knowledge and absolute answers, I think, is not even possible. It's just a thought on my mind.